step would be to be before you folks again today for kind of the final approval. So the proposed site location, if you can see it here on the screen, I'll zoom in a little bit. It's actually it's currently an 80-acre parcel, and that is just to the south of these MWEC substations. This is in Dry Fork Township. I believe the commissioners are familiar with this area. This is already a pretty heavy industrial ag sort of area. Our intention here is to actually subdivide this 80-acre parcel into 25 acres, as shown in this blue square here. So I just want to make that note right away, is that we do not intend to use a full 80-acre parcel, and we will subdivide this to 25 acres. And commissioners, please do stop me if there's any questions as I go through this. But why we chose this location is largely its proximity to available power. And we've had a really great relationship with MWEC so far, as well as planning and zoning folks. And it's tough to find good locations to do this. And really the best areas to do it are, one, in heavy industrial and ag areas away from population centers, but also where there's available power. We have to be close to substations, otherwise it becomes cost prohibitive. And so this was identified early on as not only a good place to be to start our operations, let's just call it for phase one, but also to expand our operations and to expand, to build a power substation and kind of beef up the grid in this specific area. So those were two large factors in the selection of this land, as well as there's kind of some conveniently some natural, I guess, as you can see here, kind of natural contour of the land that helps mitigate some of this potential sound. Again, we're coming in as already a kind of a low sound operation already in a heavy ag area, but this doesn't hurt. It's kind of having some natural contour to help us here. So that's the main reason that this section of land was selected. I believe we've been through all the project benefits before, but I'll briefly touch on them again. Is largely we will create some jobs, especially through the construction phase. There'll be a lot of jobs through the construction phases of this, and there will be long-term jobs as well. We come in, and I won't say it's a ton of jobs. This isn't 100 jobs that's going to be created here, but it's there are a lot of jobs, and they're high-quality jobs. And I think that they're different jobs that are very appealing. And have a lot of good benefits along with them. So that's one. The demand response is a big aspect. In our conversation with MWEC, they really want this type of load that we would be bringing, as we're a very flexible load, and we can get into some of those details if you'd like. But so those are two large things, as well as, again, kind of our long-term focus and investment. We're not coming here to grip and rip, as I kind of call it, build all this infrastructure, and then hopefully things go well for 2 years, and then if they don't, we leave. No, we're here. Our focuses are for 10, 20, 30 plus year investments, especially if we're going to be building an on-site substation, which takes considerable investment. So I just wanted to touch on those benefits, as well as just being involved with the community, the township, anywhere we can kind of insert ourselves and be of help. So again, I'll touch on this really quick, but our load is very, very flexible. We can turn off full, let's just say this was 100 megawatts. We can turn our load off within seconds, under 10 seconds. It's that reactive. So if there is ever a grid event or an event, we can respond to that, and we can give this power back to the grid, as well as one thing I'll note is just having this grid running in general helps stabilize the grid and maximize revenues for the utilities that we will be utilize. So MWEC, Basin Electric, the power pools around. So this helps. This does in fact help keep rates stable and low for the co-op members. So I'll highlight those two things about this load, and not to mention too is that really, I know we'll be building company-owned substation, but the community will benefit from that as well because we will have this load. They'll be able to go through that substation. So we want to call these things out, head on. Is we have some 1 mile setback people in our vicinity, and believe it or not, we've had some conversations with these folks, so we're well aware of them, and we want to be very conscious of them. And so the closest one we have is 0.84 miles away from this subdivided parcel that you can see on my screen. Obviously, it goes by the current parcel, and I know that those numbers would be closer, but currently that is the closest sensitive location that we've identified is 0.84 miles away to the east there, as well as there's 2 other properties. There's a trust property down to the southeast, and then a business property, which I believe is a trucking company, over to the west. Now, we also are now within a 3 mile setback of an approved data center. And I believe that this data center was approved after we set our date to be heard here today. But we're well aware of this project. I'm sure the commissioners are well aware of the project. But again, we want to call it out right away as we are within 3 miles of an approved data center there. So I'm going to circle back to noise. I know we chatted about this quite a bit last time, but I understand noise is everything, especially with some of the first entrants into the county. I think that there's been a lot of noise concerns and very warranted. We totally understand why. So we're coming in. Yes, we'll talk about it a lot because it's really important. I really want to highlight the technology we're using. This is a different technology than some of the earlier entrants. I also know that a lot of thinking around the 3 mile setback with other data centers locating close to each other is just magnification of noise. So I just want to, again, really call this out is that we are utilizing a technology that's about 25-30% lower decibels from the start of standard data center operations or crypto mining operations. And one thing I also want to point out is the pitch. Which is also a big factor in how loud these operations get, is the pitch that we will be, letting off is much lower than again your typical data center. And I've got some illustrations to kind of show that here shortly, but just want to really hit on those 2 items here. So again, we've probably gone through this slide too, but you can tell the difference here is liquid cooled miners, they don't have their own internal fans on them is the big difference. No fans, so there's no pitch from the actual servers. Whereas air-cooled servers or miners here, they have all sorts of fans. There's fan here, here, here. So if I'm counting it correctly here, there's 7 fans on this miner, and these are small, high-powered fans that create a pretty high noise level as well as pitch. So just some of the differences there. It all just to help illustrate. I think last time we talked about the coolers we utilize. I'm going to skip a couple slides here to just show it. Well, so here's some air-cooled operations. Again, you have thousands of these little servers with lots of fans, and they create quite a bit of noise. These are kind of some more of those operations and how they look. But going to liquid cooled operations, this right here, this is an industrial cooler, an adiabatic cooler or a dry cooler. And this is the sole source of noise that will be coming from our operations. It's as you can tell, the fans are on top, they're pointed upward. There's about a dozen of these on each one of these coolers. It's a much bigger fan, hence the much lower pitch. And in some cases, you can even install custom blades in there on the fans to lower the noise even further. So I just want to point that out just to really, really illustrate where this any loud noise potentially would be coming from. And again, these are very quiet sort of machines. These are kind of the differences of how our servers would be housed. A lot different than kind of those big racks you saw on some of the previous slides. This is a more large scale operation. Ours would be considerably less than this graphic here, but again, to illustrate, these coolers go outside the building. And we can confine them in an area if there's an advantageous place to do it. And let's see. Oh, actually, I'll touch on that. Is actually because we are also using a liquid, we're able to capture the heat a lot more efficiently than an air-cooled operation. There's actual heat recapture uses that we are considering. Some of those are greenhouses, and there's some other things as well. I don't want to put too much into that, but that's more in the R&D sort of phases. But because we are able to capture the heat in these coolers as opposed to just letting it off into the air, we actually can utilize that resource down the line. So I'll skip back up here. I guess that's really it. I did want to put my contact information up on the screen just for anybody that wanted to get in touch. And I'm sure that folks have concerns, and I would like to talk to those people directly. So if they like to. So that concludes my presentation. I'd love to answer any questions, take questions. Yeah, they are variable. So you can imagine if it's a 100-degree day, they will be spinning harder. And that the 70 decibel number I gave you captures that peak. So, at its peak, let's say it's a really hot day and it's, we need to cool the data center. The 70 decibels is the peak that we will be seeing at the source at that facility. Again, 1,000 feet away, we're seeing readings as close to about 40, 45, and it drops precipitously after that. To answer your question, RPMs, I don't have that figure off the top of my head. The one thing I will say is that in the cooler months, and I'll just say in a larger picture, there's one thing that a lot of things attractive about locating this location, but one of them is the climate. I know it's a cold day over there today. Days like today and just the winter in general, and even just mild temperatures, let's say 60, 70, in that range, I do not anticipate, well, actually, I know these coolers will not be operating at their peak. And there's instances where they will not be operating at all. It's that cold out there today where these fans are very, spinning very, very slowly.
Thank you for your answer, Mr. Bennett. Yeah, it's 38 below this morning, so I imagine they'd be quiet.
It'd be really quiet today.
I have one. This is Commissioner Hanson. You showed a picture there with a whole bunch of these units, and you said that's a bigger site than what this would be. How many units would be on the initial phase of this?
Yeah, on the initial phase, there would be about 10. Each one of these, are you still able to see my screen?
Yes.
Each one of these is about 2.5 megawatts. So we'd be about 12 of these units at our facility for the first phase, and that's what. Again, this is actually a rendering, just to be clear, and we would be really strategic of where these locate them. So they look good, but more importantly, so that we're conscious of the noise, right? I'm sure that we would put this on the more industrial side. And again, there's ways that we can kind of corral this this noise source. We can put concrete wall sort of thing, and if we had to, there's lots of ways that we can kind of position these advantageously, not just for the operations, but really for the noise, as that's really our biggest issue.
So if you were going to be phase 2 for 100 megawatts, there would be 40 of these. So you'd have, 55, 60 of them total?
So yes, and I think a big thing on the 100 megawatts is it really comes down to the power study we do with MWEC. That's kind of the next step with them to make sure we can get to 100. We've been told that we can get to that number, but you're absolutely correct, is that we would be in that neighborhood of 50 or so coolers in the area.
Commissioner Anderson again. So your facility, what is the actual benefit to the Williams County taxpayer? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a farmer, so I'm used to producing something, a commodity that's for sale, a food product that is a benefit to my end user. What are you producing that is a benefit to the folks around here?
Sure. So we generate this. This is a big investment, right? So we're talking about investing hundreds of millions of dollars into this operation by phase 2, and then beyond. So this will generate substantial revenues, and those revenues will flow to the taxpayer, as well as, again, bringing in this infrastructure, specifically electrical infrastructure, stabilizes power rates, and there are taxes on those rates as well that also flow to the co-op members, community members, et cetera, as well as the jobs we'll be creating. So this, as you can tell, these are big operations, especially the construction phase. I'll really highlight that is these are big, very infrastructure heavy projects that need to be built. These aren't slow builds. We build them really quickly, meaning we need a lot of hands. And sure, the construction jobs are temporary, but there's long-term maintenance jobs that we need for all this infrastructure, and then we need really high-quality folks inside the facility to manage the servers, to fix the servers, to replace the servers, all sorts of things. So there's a lot of tax benefits here for the community members, the county, the state, et cetera, that we will be. It's top of mind.
So do you have a breakdown in your mind of the percentage of dollars spent? What is an actual building? What is property? And what is equipment? Because the taxpayers can only assess buildings and lands. We can't assess equipment. So what's the breakdown of your hundreds of millions of dollars spent in that?
Yeah. So the substation, I'm using rough numbers here, but that could be upwards of a $10+ million build. The land will become substantially more with more value having this infrastructure on site, as there is not enough of this infrastructure in the world today to meet the demand. So I don't have an exact breakdown for you today. I'd be happy to come up with one for you and bring one for sure to any next meetings, but I can assure you that the value is substantial here, and that the ratepayers and the taxpayers will see the benefit of this project.
So when you were talking about the permanent jobs, how many jobs would go with phase 1, and then if phase 2 were to happen, what would the total number of employees be?
Sure. So the rough general rule of thumb for these data centers is roughly 2 employees per megawatt. So for 30 megawatts, it'd be about 15. And for 100 megawatt, it'd be about 50. I actually think it would be a little bit more than that, as we generally carry a little bit higher than that rule of thumb sort of figure I gave you. And if this did turn into, the one caveat I'll say, if we did do more HPC and AI, or moved on other services such as actually fixing these servers on site, that number could double. So I just want to make that clear, but up front.
Okay, is there any more questions for Scott?
So on phase 2, when you talk about going up to 100 megawatts and you would have your own substation, and there was talk about battery storage. Can you tell us a little bit more about the battery part of it?
Yeah, and thanks for asking that question. So the battery storage is not critical to phase 1 and 2. It's not. So I know that it's in the packet. It's part of the recommendations. But I understand that there's no regulations around the battery technology. So I understand any concerns that there are. We do see that technology being advantageous to this project in the future for, again, kind of all the demand response reasons and fluctuating the load at this site. And that would have a benefit to the grid and to MWEC and again, kind of by and large, the surrounding folks. But that is not a critical piece to this project in phase 1 or phase 2. Does that help answer the question?
Yeah, I just didn't, I just wanted to make sure that this, if for some reason this were to pass, that battery part was not included into that, because we want to get a handle on it before people start building them.
Yeah, and I think again, since it's not really part of our phase 1 or phase 2, I don't have the. My guess is we'd be in front of you again to discuss that. So that's not. It's not in our short-term plans here.
What do you think the years of service would be for this facility, and what does it look like when you're done?
Yeah, good question. And again, kind of going back to how we're a little bit different in that these are long-term projects to us, and really the industry is viewing these as long-term projects even more. My answer to that is 20 to 30 years. I really think that this has that sort of life cycle, if not longer. That involves, I'm sure, many iterations of technology, many being, 3, 4, 5, something in that neighborhood, where we would change the equipment out that's most likely on the inside of the facility, but there would be investment cycles into this. Again, I see this as a 20, 30-year play, which in my opinion is pretty long term. And then you're right, I guess that's a long time, but we do need to think about what does this site look like if this facility becomes, let's just say, obsolete or old, or we need to turn the page. Obviously we need to leave the land just like we found it. So we're big believers in that, being good stewards of the land here. So again, that's not something I've specifically addressed in our plans, but I think we need to. So again, we want to leave the land the way we found it, if we have to come to that.
So in your appeal here, are you asking for the appeal to cover both phases 1 and 2, or are you just looking for phase 1 currently?
Ideally we are looking for phase 2, and we really want to come in and do this big and do this the right way. We see Williams County as a great home, a business friendly, politically friendly place to be. We've had a great relationship with the folks at NWEC, as well as the planning and zoning. And it takes us a long time to select a site and a location that we truly want to be. So we're really, really methodical, and some might say sometimes too patient in that process, but we do see this as an ideal place to be. And I just want to say one more thing about kind of leaving the land the way we found it, is that one thing about these coolers too is that we really aren't. A lot of data centers take a lot of water, a ton of water. They'll use evaporative cooling, and they take all of the resources locally, and they use a lot of it. These coolers don't use. We don't need water. We don't need that amount of water. The only water on site we're going to need is largely for admin, employee, day-to-day sort of use, cleaning sort of use, right? Spraying things down. These coolers run on a water glycol loop. It's an internal loop. It's a closed loop. I'm sure they'll need maintenance over time, but I did just want to point that out, is that's another benefit of this project, is that we're really conscious of water and aren't using that resource to the max, so to speak. So, but yes, we really are interested in kind of phase 1 and phase 2.
And just for clarification to our board or constituents, that if we approve this appeal, it's not approving the data center, it just gives them the ability to move forward with due process. If I understand that correctly, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, that's correct. Any other questions from the board? Is there any comments from the public. If you have one, please come to the mic, introduce yourself for the record, and then make your comment.
My name is Daryl
Could you pull that? Can you pull that mic up so we can hear you? Thank you.
My name is Daryl Bergstrom, and I live within a mile of this facility, and I request a land survey between their facility and my doorstep to make it appropriate and legal. And the way it states in my paper, it says 1 1/8 miles, which is incorrect because the way they have figured it is on the roadway to my place, and that is incorrect because I need to go from their facility to my doorstep. And they're saying that I live more than the mile away. Okay. But I need the survey and I want it in writing. And they are responsible for doing it. So I asked for a continuous to not vote on it today, to make sure that this survey is done. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Can you pull up the map so we can see? Just hang on for 1 second,
Yep.
Mr. Bergstrom, just so we can see where exactly you're at.
Yes.
Sure. Is this helpful? Everyone see that?
Yeah, which one is yours?
Red.
Straight
Red
east,
dot.
that one?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, good morning. Or do I have to hit something?
No, you shouldn't need to.
Oh, good morning, everybody. My name's John Wapasnik, and just a question. Is there a fire mitigation process or anything that's going to be built into the plant? I know everybody here, we had quite a fire recently in our county and stuff, but I know there's no plumbing out there or fire department, so I am concerned about that. And also, is the county, will they require a certain amount of liability insurance in case there is a problem or anything, that there is a fund available in the future for anybody that might be affected by this?
Thanks for your question. This hearing is specifically to give the folks an opportunity to go through planning and zoning and come back to gain a CUP. So basically, this one is just as a variance from what our ordinance say, and it's the 1 mile and the 3 mile variance. So those would all be addressed through the CUP process, unless I'm wrong, Cameron. Is that okay? Does that answer your question? Okay. Anyone else like to give their comments?
My name's Kathy Walton. I live west of town, more than a mile away from Atlas. And I just caution, when he gave his presentation, it didn't sound like there were any downsides. And we all know that these people will trick you into accepting what they're saying. And I just want to share with you a 30-second recording of what I put up with most every day. It wasn't today. But this was January 8th, and the temperature outside was about 30 degrees. It's only 30 seconds, seems longer than that. But if it's every day, all day long, it can be more than a little annoying. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
My name is Jodine Bergstrom, and I just want to note that, you know, the sound, I understand and respect that it can be definitely something that happens that can be unenjoyable. But I can tell you, I have, less than a fourth of a mile away from my house, a flare that blows all the time. So we're accustomed to noises and sounds in our community. And, you know, I don't have any control over that flare blowing. And sometimes my yard light doesn't even come on because it's so big. So, you know, there's lots of different sounds. The big thing I think it's really important about this project, it is in a lacked area. And I was on that steering committee when, you know, all the oil and gas was coming in. And the community wanted that consolidated so that it didn't pollute our area. If you've ever been down by Bowman, it's a mess down there. You know, there's oil wells everywhere and a lot of, you know, it just looks busy and it destroys our landscape. You know, and that was one thing I think that we did very well is we did control that here in Williams County. You know, it's not just here and there, it's all in one area. So that's the reason that these lacked areas are put together so that we can consolidate that. I understand that that 3 mile setback was put in, you know, as reactionary to Atlas. And I respect that because, you know, there's a lot of issues going on there. But I think at this point, because we don't really have enough research and everything that allow us to at least go on to the next process and maybe do some more research on, you know, is it advantageous? Because there's only so many places that we can pull power. So this is not, you know, to do a 3 mile, you're asking another company to come in with a minimum of $3 million additional cost to get outside of that 3 mile area. And I'm concerned because we should be looking at diversifying ourselves in Williams County because we're very heavy gas and oil. And this is the new oil of technology. And I think we need to really be, you know, at least look at that. And there's a lot more going on to the next process that we can have a lot more data. Right now, we're just asking for the permission to move on. And, you know, that's your guys' job is to stay focused on the application. We're just asking for the ability to show, you know, the real reason why this is a good project. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to ask them or answer them. If not, it's my story and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other comments for the board? Final time, any other comments? Okay, we will turn it over to the board. What are the wishes?
Mr. Chairman, I'd move to approve the appeal for the CCMF facility only and not the battery storage.
Okay, there is a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'd second it for discussion.
Okay, moved and seconded. That opens for discussion.
Well, you know, when we first put the ordinance in place, we had that 3 mile setback, which seemed, it was more of a knee jerk, I think, or close to a knee jerk as we could get after Atlas. But now I've been talking to some people and there seems to be some weight to it to, instead of having them scattered all over the county, if they were more centralized, you know, in a spot or in a industrial park or whatever. But I was just curious as your thoughts.
I've heard some of the same stuff. I mean, there's no doubt Atlas is the cause of this problem. And I mean, there's folks in this room that aided and allowed this to happen and to get placed in a poor spot. So now we have to come up with a good way to listen to all these concerns. These folks, when they're building these facilities, have to be good neighbors. I will not tolerate people not being good neighbor. And I encourage these guys, if this appeal passes, they've got a lot of work to do because they've got a neighbor in the crowd and they've got multiple neighbors and they better do it right. And that's the reason why we're going through this process is because we have a company that is not a good neighbor. And there's folks in here that are proving that. And that's why we have to go through this.
I think what Commissioner Anderson says makes a lot of sense, and that's a conversation I've had with a couple of different companies also, and it is about being a good neighbor. The thing that we need to remember here is all we're doing here is approving an appeal. We're not approving another data center. We're approving an appeal. And as this thing goes through to, if it approves and it goes through the CUP process, that's where all these things need to get laid out. And as CUPs go, there are ways for us to pull CUPs. So I think there were some great questions brought up today. One of them was the reclamation. Not probably something I'd even thought of until it was brought up today, and I think that was a great question, and that's going to have to be added into the CUP process. Does anybody else have any other comments on this?
Well, my thoughts or my personal opinion is if we were to approve the appeal, the first step that Teton's going to have to do is they're going to have to set up a meeting with the township, and then they get to say, right? I mean, instead of us dictating to them what is going to happen in their part of the world, the township should have a say in it.
I think the neighbors need to be on board. There should not be a lot of discontent. I mean, if you make your neighbors happy in this process, then it should be a good project. That's all I ask through this process is to make sure that those neighbors are taken care of.
Correct, and that was how it played out with Interfor, is the township after meeting with the township, because I was at the meeting there, and it was a very good. It was a lengthy meeting, but it was good. There was a lot of discussion back and forth and whatnot, and as it turned out, the township approved. So I think it'd only be fair to give them the same opportunity.
Okay, any other comments from the board?
And I just think with Scott online, just to know the sentiment and whomever else may want to set up cryptocurrency or a data center, that the good neighbor policy means we don't want you in Williams County simply to exploit the resources we have here. We want you to make an investment in our communities here as well.
Okay, anything else from the board? No? Hearing nothing else? Roll call vote, Brenda?
Bo,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey.
Yes, motion carried. That brings us to number 2 under Section E. Cameron, you can introduce this one, please?
Yes, I certainly will. The second item here is for Critical Data House. This is for a data center. I don't believe it is for cryptocurrency. However, our ordinance does define cryptocurrency mining and data centers as one. I have been in contact with the applicants. They have asked to have this hearing postponed. following our zoning ordinance, staff doesn't have that ability. However, I did talk with legal counsel and through Robert's Rule of Order, if this board feels compelled, they can certainly postpone the hearing. There's been some new developments with the potential site that they selected, as far as possibly re-subdividing to meet setbacks, so the appeal process may not be necessary. And I can elaborate further on the description of the project if needs be, if the commission does not want to postpone it, but I'll save that. And I also believe representatives are here that may also be able to shed a little further information on their project, and there may be folks from the public that still would like to comment since this was advertised and published.
Okay, I think that's very important. I think it'll be a decision of the board, and it's totally up to you guys if you're willing to grant the continue or the postponement. But I think we do need to hear folks that took the time to be here this morning and have comments about this. So, how do you guys want to handle it? Should we listen to the comments first and then decide from there, or how do you want to do it? Okay, I think we'll do it that way, Cameron. We did get all the information on it. If there is someone in the audience that wants to make a comment, we did receive a written one. Please come up to the mic, introduce yourself, and we'll go from there.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Dale Haugen. I represent Critical Data House, and also online I've got the president, Chris Harden, with Critical Data House. And if I may so ask Chris to have opening comments. We might have lost Chris. But anyway, let me start out by saying that.
He's muted.
Is he muted?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning, and thank you, Williams County, for the time today. We have put together a development plan for a data center in the county. We have been studying different options and variables. As we know what we would like to present to Williams County for approval, we do have an opportunity to change some of the land options that we have so that we know we will meet the setback requirements, and we may not be required to go through with an appeal. So our thought process was to take a moment to work through those variables and to present only to the county when those variables have been vetted out, so that we do not waste the county's time, and that we can put together a unified project plan that we know will be presented to you folks, so that will be clearly vetted out what we can do with the land that we have available.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Just a little bit of history. Critical Data House is a North Dakota corporation that we've applied for a primary sector. We are currently working with some customers, which I can't divulge because of confidentiality yet, but it'll be like a PayPal, a Microsoft. This is a real data center. And the data center will really be online cloud services, the sharing of your photos, anything you do in cloud services. This is what we're looking for. The investment, we are working presently with the city of Williston to put one in the city of Williston. We're going through their planning and zoning. The investment is a little over $10 billion total, $5 billion in buildings and $5 billion in what you were asking about, computers inside the buildings. In order to bring the infrastructure for connectivity of fiber, they have to bury fiber extensively throughout North Dakota, clear to Minneapolis and back. And the company is looking for 3 sites in order for this investment. One will probably be within Williston, and then 2, of course, will most likely be looking for facilities in Williams County. The reason we made the application for this property is I misunderstood it. I went from the source of the noise to the residential instead of property line to property line. Once that was identified, we realized who the neighbors were and who we got to work with. we're requesting that this be tabled because we do want to do the same thing as we do with Basin Electric in my past. We want to have them township meetings. I want to go meet every individual one-on-one to see their concern, the placement of these buildings and everything else. We did have the opportunity to take 12 delegation people from the city, and we invited the county to come with to tour some of these facilities in Salt Lake City. And I'll guarantee you, they're precast concrete, everything else. And when they're up, you can stand outside and talk just like this. You just don't hear anything outside. Again, it is not crypto. This isn't, they're kind of associated in the same boat, but we're real excited about looking for this facility. And when we do, we want to model it. We want to model it so that we have the noise studies, the probability, and everything else, the logistics, so that we have something to go visit with the landowners. So that's the request, that we permanently table this thing until we have the data and had those township meetings and those neighbor meetings, so that we can come to you with the correct data.
Any questions for Dale? Nope, thank you.
I learned my lesson on the last one. Thank you.
I hope so. Should be a hard lesson learned, isn't it?
Other comments, please?
My name is Kathy Cartier, and I'm speaking on behalf of our daughter, Renee Mitchell. I believe I sent letters to all you guys. Did you get them? If you didn't, I've got extra copies. Also, I won't reread the letter. I just want to make strong a couple comments. Why aren't all these be putting in an industrial area? Why are they spread all over the county? I realize electricity is an issue, but these scattered all over the county is ridiculous. The area that they want to put it in now is farmland. It is an area where it is wildlife in there and farmland, and these things are going to start moving our wildlife out of the area and cut the farmland. So I think it's important that you realize that these should be in an industrial area. They should be put together. That is, I think, it's a quiet area out there. There is nothing else out there. Leave it that way. We keep changing Williams County. And I agree, there are oil wells all over, and I understand the flares and all that. But we've got to quit making it. This is North Dakota. Let's leave it North Dakota. That's all I have.
Thank you. Is there any other comments?
Charles Cartier. I'm Renee Mitchell's father. A few years back, Selling Company wanted to put in a warehouse or a machine shed to work on their equipment. And this was on our ag land off of 62nd Street. It was denied because it was ag land. It had to go to commercial or industrial. And now we're working with something that's on ag land. I don't even know why you guys are considering approving or disapproving this because it's ag land. And as far as I'm concerned, ag land is either pasture land or cropland. It's not data land. So I think it's time to shut this down and tell them to look for a different location. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public?
Morning. My name is Garth Shuey. I'm an attorney with the Crowley Fleck Law Firm, and I'm here on behalf of Charles McCauley Partnership, and we obviously support the motion to table.
Thank you. Any other general comments from the public? Okay, we're going to turn it back to the board. And again, we can make a motion to postpone it. I understand, the question I heard was postpone it indefinitely. Can we do that, or do we have to pick a time, Karen?
Nope, under the Roberts rules, or you can do a motion to postpone it indefinitely or to a specific time, so.
So either or. Okay, thank you.
I would make a motion to postpone or table it till, I don't know when, I guess indefinitely.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Bo,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey.
Yes, motion carried. Okay, that moves us up to reported departments. Looks like Leah's up.
Good morning, Commission. Leah with the Assessor's Office. Thank you so much for your time today. Well, it has been a fast-paced couple of months since I was appointed tax director in October of this last year. Over the past year, we have worked to implement some upgrades to our Vanguard programs, which is the software program that we use to track and process our work. I worked with Helen and Christy to make those changes. I believe that they were in works before I took over. We now have the Pro version, which allows us to add documentation to our accounts, which helps us to create a historical record for our work and create our own reports. This will help streamline and make some of our things more efficient for us. We also added the agricultural building module, which we are excited about. It will streamline post-frame buildings and use the same methodology for those buildings that we use for every other building. It has been a learning curve to work with contracts, but with the help of Karen, I've been able to make some corrections, and her as well, to implement these new platforms. February 1st is North Dakota's assessment deadline. Everything we do over the year comes together. In the next couple of months, we work all year collecting data, completing inspections, analyzing the sales we have received. In December, we mailed applications for exemptions based on our previous enrollments. Gabby with Communications has been distributing information via social media for people who may not be enrolled but may be eligible. So we sent out 16 disabled applications, 164 disabled veterans credits applications. Homestead credit applications were 405. Farm resident exemptions, 352. And we sent out 191 privileged exemption applications. Those are for churches, groups, 501(c)(3)s, and any daycares. We review these submitted applications in the coming weeks and make calls if we have not received the aforementioned application back. Next month, we will be finalizing the new assessments for 2025. We work with cities and townships to schedule their local equalization meetings. We are one of few counties that have a joint office where we assess all the local cities. That includes Williston, Tioga, Ray, Grenora, Alamo, Wildrose, and the county, all in one office. Many counties in North Dakota have separate offices for the county and cities with a population over 5,000. As of March 14th, we will start to send out notices to property owners based on the North Dakota law that if they have an increase of 10% and $3,000. Then starting April 1st, the office will attend all local and city equalization meetings when requested. It is a busy 45 days for us. We are traveling all over the county and have the opportunity to answer questions from citizens, officers, and city officials. On June 3rd, you'll see us here again for the county equalization meeting. That is the last step for most citizens' appeals. So after our county meeting, we send them a letter letting them know if there were any changes and updates. State equalization this year is August 12th. which is truly the final step in the assessment process, but we have not historically had many changes come down from the state. The office will then start to look at sales permits, we'll schedule time out in the field, start collecting data again, and so the process starts all over again. I thank you so much for giving me a little bit of time to tell you about what's been going on in the assessor's office. And if you have any questions for me, I'm willing to answer anything you got.
Thank you for the update. Appreciate it.
It's a lot.
You did good. It made everybody up here quiet. That's kind of an odd thing to have happen. So,
Well, good.
welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Keep it up, and I guess I know there's going to be some questions coming. I think you probably heard a couple this morning about,
Yes.
where those would fall in on taxing.
Yes.
If you could maybe find something out on that and send it out, there was discussion up here that we were gonna, throw you under the bus and ask you right when it was all going on, but thought we'd wait and give you.
Well, you could have. I already have an answer for you.
Well, go for it.
I've already reached out to Pickett. Pickett is our company that we contract with to service all of our gas plants, any of our saltwater disposals. I've already reached out to them, and they actually do data centers as well. So I'm looking to add that to my contract for this next year. So I've already kind of done the legwork on it, knowing that these are coming down the pike.
So would you be able to get us down the road a little ways a number, saying if it's a value of this, here's what how they value it?
Would it be tied more with like the 30 megawatt or the 100 is it tied back to the megawatts, or is it tied back to?
It's most likely going to be on the production that they have going on, either what's coming in or what's going out. I'm not 100% sure. I can delve more into it and get more details so that the next time this comes up, I can definitely have those answers for you. But you're looking at like a $10 million assessment, give or take.
All right. Thank you.
Any
I'm
other
sorry. Does anybody else have any questions for her? Forgot that there was other people sitting here. Thank you.
Perfect.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you all.
All right. Was there any other department heads that needed to be heard today? Well, looks like we're to Helen.
Good morning. Right, you have a position report in front of you. You see staff surveyor. It actually this is a position that was approved to be filled some number of months ago. And then just based on other things we had going on, and frankly, the winter coming in when there's less surveying to be done, we delayed filling it. And so if it's been on hold long enough, I bring it back to you all for approval. It's not a new position, just the same one, kind of back in the hopper.
Okay. What are the wishes?
I would move to approve the staff surveyor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Chris?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Corey?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Motion carried.
thank you. I am headed to Bismarck today. There is the Capital Connection for Local Governments, so I'll be Williams County's representative there. There are meetings this morning and tomorrow, or meetings this afternoon and tomorrow morning related to the legislative process. I'll connect with a few of our legislators. If you have anything specific you wanted me to talk about, you let me know. I'll be driving for 4 hours. You can call me.
Take an extra blanket.
Right, exactly.
It's quite obvious they're not releasing enough of the hot air from the Capitol building to keep the state warm.
You can take that to them if
I'll
you want.
convey your message.
Awesome. I love that. Is that it, Helen?
That's it.
We better stop before we dig the hole. I think isn't that what they say? Once you see you're in the hole, stop digging.
Right, that's right.
Okay, that brings us to item H. Adjournment. We are adjourned.